Hello everyone, my name is Rajesh Kumar and I'm your Devops SRE DevSecOps coach. So today, after discussing about the Devops, which we did yesterday, today we are going to discuss about SRE, and the SRE stand for Site Reliability Engineering. So this is something which you need to understand why, because somehow DevOps is fading away actually. DevOps is very good, but there are certain challenges which every organizations are experiencing, and because of that, uh, that solution has come in SRE, and that's the reason one SRE is becoming very popular. So yeah, site reliability engineering. So what is a site? So site is it can be your application, which can be apps or website, anything. It can be your software, the one which you want to make sure that it should be reliable. So that is something which we know what is site, and the objective is to make the site reliable. And when we call it a reliable, this is a very broad word actually. So reliability can be seen as like a probability of success, durability, dependability, quality over time, availabilities, everything, many things it contains. So um, this is something which we want to do. Your job is to make your site, your application, your website reliable. But the question is how? How can we do that? And that is where you are going to bring engineering approach. Now, if you remember yesterday, which I was discussing about engineering approach, that means there'll be one team which is called DevOps team, and they'll be doing all sort of work. So something similar, we have a team whose job is to uh, you know support the reliability for the website. But how can that be done? So bringing the engineering approach, and when we say engineering, that means software engineering. That means whatever you do in order to make the site reliable, let's say automation or something, you need to start planning, you need to design, you need to develop, you need to test, you need to deploy, you need to maintenance. That means these all things is called engineering approach you need to do in the SRE team. And if you are SRE team, you will have to follow this approach. So yeah, Benjamin, who's the founder of Google SRE, as per his version of definition of SRE, site reliability engineering, SRE, what happens when you ask a software engineer to design an operations team, right? So we had an operations team. We all know that, nothing great about it. Those are the team who's taking care of our applications, who's responsible for reliability, availability, security, you know, all this thing, uptime. So if you want to set up a SRE team compared to S ops team, then you need to ask the folks to follow the engineering approach, what they do in the software development, something similar they have to do in the ops work as well. So that is what Benjamin is suggesting. So what are the responsibility of an SRE organization? So let's say if you claim like, okay, you are SRE organizations. So primarily you will be focused on availability, the site availability, site performance. You will do the management, incident management, post-mortem RCS and all, and monitoring. What are the activities of an SRE? So yeah, as I said, it's the engineering approach, right? So you have to write a code for it. Now, whatever you do, you have to write a code for it. Remember that yesterday I said, no matter what you do, you have to write a code for it. So write a code for it. Are you be on the call? You have to lead a war room, perform post-mortem, automate, implement the best practices. So these are some of the activities which we have for an SRE. So what are the functions of SRE? Uh, so these are the three major functions what SRE team performs. One of the important one is eliminating the toil. Simple way, if you want to say any work which you do manually, most of the time if you go to the ops team, many of the tasks they will do manually. So if you are doing some manual task, let's say you are a part of ops team, you are doing some manual task, and if that manual task can be automated using certain script or robot, so that is considered to be toil. So eliminating toil, automating manual repetitive work, which you have to do that, and then managing a risk in which agreed service level and with explicit tolerance. So when we say agreed service level, if you remember that we have a SLI, SLO, and SLA service level, three areas where we have to focus on it, and to satisfy the tolerance whatever your applications is supposed to take care of it, and the same time handling failures, incident management, and postmortems. So these are the three major function of SRE team we have. Now we understood at a high level what is SRE, what are the functions of SRE, what are the responsibilities of SRE, what are the activities of SRE. But how SRE has been coming in the shape right now, why we all are talking about SRE. Why not ops? Because earlier we used to say, right, in Agile, if you go back to Agile world, there will be one team, which you call it Agile team or development team, you can call it. And there'll be another team who will be ops team, right? And then because we had a gaps between the development team and ops team, and that is where we came up with the process saying that, okay, DevOps, let's do the DevOps. And we merge these two teams together. But when you want to apply for SRE, that in that way, you don't need to merge these two teams into one. Okay. So ops team can be transformed into SRE. I repeat, ops team can transform into SRE. Now the question is, how can it be transformed into SRE, and what are the benefits you have it? So look at this here. Same thing. Our business, our management, our CTO ask ops team, hey, give me the reliability. The same team ask a development team, hey, give me the new feature. So the priorities for the each teams are differ, but our management is expecting different things altogether. And that is where the wall is getting created. Ops team say, hey, my focus is reliability. If you give me the more features, it'll become a not reliable for some time till it get mature. And that is not what I want. Just give me some time, wait for more. And that is where the development team is not having patience, because they say our priority is to release the new feature in the market, and you guys are not supporting it, right? So this is something like ops team and development team. So if you look at this anatomy of the ops team and versus development team primarily work on the design, development, testing, and acceptance criteria of the software, whereas ops team works on the supporting the production environment, maintenance, capacity planning, and they only interact during the delivery. So now let's say I'll put it in a very simple way. Let's say development team has come up with one feature which they want to roll out in the production. So development team will continue working in isolated way without involving ops team, and then one day they will come and say, hey, we have developed this feature, can you make it live? And that is where ops team will say, hey, no, wait, we need to understand the everything impact, what are the support required for it, how do we maintain it, what are the capacity planning, all these things we have to do that. Probably we have to wait for a month or something, and that is what it happens, right? So if you look at this trend, we have a different goals, different skill set, different tools, and no common ground where they can work together. And this was one of the reason we got a DevOps, but not now. So here ops team, if you see some of the stats what you have is like black box delivery, limited agency after the event, whatever you want to do, you have to do that. So box delivery means no design input, You don't know what exactly the software, how it has been designed and all. You don't know the options for automation for the new product. Infrastructure level monitoring, you have it, but there are so many kind of monitoring, right? For example, observabilities are there, infra monitoring, log monitoring, APM monitoring, synthetic monitoring, RAM monitoring. All these are a black area for upstream. At the same time, you have a upstream have a limited agency in terms of if you have an error, then you accept, you decide go or no go, and definitely we get a lots of conflicts between the teams. And after the events, again there will be some service level decided, and then you have to support it, and then reactive support. The reactive support means once the problem is there, then only you can take up action. Before that, you will not take up any access. So the question is, then what is SRET? So here, if you see the image, this is the upstream, and here you have SRET. Look at this. What is happening in SRET? So basically, when you want to introduce the SRE concept, then that means you don't need to merge these two teams together. Yes, you don't need to merge these two teams together. There's something similar we did in the DevOps. We we reorg. If you remember that, we did reorg in the DevOps, and that is not what we are doing in the SRE. So what we are doing? So if you want to transform it from the ops team to SRE team, the one thing which you have to start doing it, if development team started some design for the new feature, you need to get involved, or they need to involve you. Okay, if they are developing some features, then you can involve. During the acceptance testing, you can get involved. Ops team will involve. Same time, when SRE team is supporting it, they will involve the development team. They will involve development team in terms of capacity planning. So I'll put it in this way. Let's say if you are designing some software and the design has come up saying that, okay, we will develop in this language, this backend, this frontend, this database, this operating system, right? These are the features, these are the traffic we'll be having, these are the services we'll have as part of the software. So now, because you shared during the design itself, now SRE team is aware of it. What exactly is going to come in the next couple of months. So they'll start preparing accordingly. Same thing, whatever your development and acceptance criteria for the testing, troubleshooting, let's say during the development, you'll get to know about your lots of ways to fine tune your applications and many other stuff in terms of acceptance criteria. So now if you involve SRE team, if there is some production issues, they can take care of it because they know that these are the things might happen, and they will expect, instead of reactive support, you are doing the proactive support. Same time, if they need some support from the support and capacity planning, development team should involve. So what happens when you are not merging a team, right? But at the same time, you have a shared goal actually. That is important. And sometimes the skill set become overlapping, and many of the tools are consistent and common basics. So these are the fundamental changes which you want to transform your ops team to SRE team. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? So I'll put it in this way. Let's say you are from the ops team and I am a part of the dev team. Situation number one, we do not talk to each other till the release has come, and then you will have to start your day understanding everything from same thing and all. Or situation number two, option number two, I can involve, you can involve each other for whatever the decisions you do, whatever the plan you have, and that way we all are up to date, and then keep preparing for the next release. So which one is better? What do you think, all of you? All of you?
Can you come again with your question, Rajesh?
So I was saying like ops team where they do not interact during design, development, and acceptance testing, support and capacity planning. And when you want to transform ops team into SRE, then they integrate. That means they know everything much in advance, so they can plan their work accordingly. So which one is better?
Um, it is, I don't know if it is an assumption or it is practically, I mean, the what is happening inside during the time, you will not be aware, right? Though we know the plan, sometimes plans get changed because so dynamic environment, right? Especially when we call it as DevOps.
No, I'm not talking the DevOps here. So basically, I'll put it in this way. Let's say you and me,
Hmm.
and you have to tell me which situation is good. Let's say if I start, I'm a dev team, you're a ops team, and if I'm doing the development during design phase, certain programming language, certain operating system, certain dependencies, certain database, everything which I'm planning, designing basically, uh, there is a one situation where I would not share with you. You are a part of ops team. Second scenario, I would share with you, which is good, which is faster.
Obviously,
Which,
sharing the information is good.
yeah, and that is what SRE is trying to do. Here, SRE team will involve. So we are not merging the two teams here. SRE team, ops team will involve. When ops team is involved during design, development, and acceptance testing, that means it's SRE team. That is what I'm trying to say. So SRE
Okay,
team,
I have one question on this note. See, in certain organizations, I noticed that there are roles of SRE, but they don't have any development teams to interact with. But they play
yeah,
such role. I don't see any relevance. What do you say about that?
yeah, you're 100% right. That's what I said. There is a one thing which we call it what we are supposed to do, and there is one thing which we have accidentally created. So I'll put it in this way. Uh, because we all, whatever the structure you have right now in your organization, it's not like you created. You have inherited this, right? It's been
Hmm.
there from last 15 years, 20 years, and something. Now, what has happened over the period of time? Some of the key folks in the organization they decided, okay, we'll transform our team into SRE team or um, DevOps team. So what we are supposed to do? So what probably they might have done it like they changed the name of the team, ops team to SRE team or some support team to SRE team, but they have not brought those values. They have not enforced those values what they're supposed to perform. So they continue. They though you rebrand them with a different name, different labels, but they continue their own operations as they used to do that earlier also. So maybe management got changed, or maybe priority got changed, maybe some restructure has happened. I mean, you know that what
Okay.
happens actually.
So, so
So
okay,
that
there is one more scenario, Rajesh. For example, let us say my company is an infrastructure company and I give the services, infrastructure services, to the different customers, hundreds of customers. So
right,
if basically I don't have any such function of development and all that other than just some automation like infrastructure automation, maybe cloud related. But otherwise, other than the cloud orchestration and development work, other than that, the majority teams who actually work for different customers, they do not or they cannot interact with the development teams because the customer may not be open. So how do I, you know, get kind of the kind of value added roles or the org structure when I'm serving to different customers?
in that case, this is the complete the model for ops team. That means you are
Hmm.
not talking to development team for the upcoming releases. They are also not involved with you guys when you troubleshoot and support or post-mortem, you do that. So that is a complete model of ops team. That means not SRE team.
Okay.
And for SRE team, to become SRE team, the only thing, I mean, there are few other steps also we need to do that. But the first important thing is they need to talk to development team directly, and development team need to talk to SRE team directly. That means for anything they should interact. And
So,
the question is like when they should interact. So they should interact while designing the software itself, during the development, and during the acceptance testing. Same time with the support and capacity planning as well.
okay. So they knows what is happening with the application. At the same time, the development team also knows what to expect from SRE team.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you.
basically here SRE has brought it because merging all teams together and making it DevOps was very difficult for many of the organization. So Google says let's do one thing. DevOps is good. If you implement well, DevOps is good, but most of the organization fail to implement the DevOps. So Google has suggested let's do one thing. Let's have a mid path right now. Earlier, dev team and ops team were not talking, but now let's start talking actually. Then let's start engaging with each other. So we are not merging the team. Still, there will be two different hierarchy verticals, but still they will collaborate much better during design development, acceptance, support, and capacity planning. And then question is like, what do we call this model? So this model they started calling as a SRE, site reliability engineering. That and it's not only that they will start talking and then it'll become SRE team. There are many other stuff has to be followed in order to become a SRE from ops actually. So that I'll discuss in some time. Make sense?
Absolutely. So it is a
Okay.
transitional team, right? It is a kind of
Yeah,
a organized transition.
yeah, yeah, it's a transition, transformation. Okay, so
So
SRE
everything that doesn't follow this, it's not considered SRE then.
then ops
Imagine
only.
that, for example, yeah, because for example, in my case, purely being a system administrator, I don't participate most of the cases of development, testing, acceptance. Might be involved in delivery, I might be involved in support, maintenance, and capacity. So
Yes,
none of this is accepted as a SRE then.
yes, yes. That means you are not integrating the fund. Why we got introduced
But
of
this
SRE?
part
Why?
is, but this part of the development is not even on the company itself. It's from the customer. So we might have a clash of interests there, maybe,
Yes,
because the customer hires a development company to develop stuff for them, and we have the operational part, which is me. So I don't see a way to connect this.
yes. So again, this is the organization limitations in your case. But this is what which Google is trying to solve it, because see ultimately when operations team and development team they have a disconnect, the the many things get in a different direction altogether, like release delay, get delay, the support get delay compromised, and many other areas like cost get escalated, the RCA get escalated. So to avoid all these things, they have introduced SRE team actually. Okay, so in SRE, we have agreed delivery. So SRE team is involved with the ongoing design input, and you can discuss on the extended automation options as well, and user focused monitoring. Here we have a full agency, dev team supports, you have it, and then you stop deployments, hand back to the pages after the events, agreed service level, and limited support time. So now if you want to compare SRE with the DevOps, let's put it up in this way. So if you remember the last day which we discussed, there is one team which you call it a DevOps team, and the business asks everything from this team. So give me reliability and the new stuff together. There's one team and business ask everything from this team. But the problem which we have is the DevOps team. One of the issues like transition problems. Many of the employees and or in sometime organizations also they don't want to transform actually. They did not do the reorg. Simple ways to put it up. They did not do the reorg. They continue. They rename the labels, but they continue the same work the same way they used to do from last 15 years. So what has happened? Though you introduce the DevOps practices, but fail to reorg, shared responsibility, coding mindset, and many other stuff. We did not do that. So what happens? DevOps started failing it. So no new feature. So DevOps team started saying that, hey, we cannot release the new feature until we have automated the release process. If you remember that, in order to implement the DevOps, you have to implement CI/CD. If you remember the last few section of the discussion yesterday, and DevOps start automating it. So we cannot focus on the features right now, or maybe we think the apps down, so we are adding more monitoring and stuff like that, and maybe some DevOps training required, because in DevOps everyone has to share the resources, skill set, and many things. So lots of training happens, right? So that is the challenges, one some of the challenges which we have with the DevOps. So in a DevOps team, there is one team, and this team is performing everything from the design to development, testing, acceptance testing, delivery, support, maintenance, and capacity planning, where you have a shared goal, overlapping skill sets, consistent tools, and common basic. But if you look at the SRE team, look at this. Here there's one team responsible for everything. But here still there's a two team, okay? But they are integrating well with each other. That's a major difference between SRE and DevOps. Am I making some sense here?
I suppose that the fact that the SRE team is not involved in the testing won't impact anything on the maintenance part because they are separated there.
Yeah, so testing for the feature, SRE is not required. But what are the acceptance test criteria which you have? For that, they required that, because let's say if SRE team is running the application in their production environment, they will do the same sort of acceptance test or sanity to make sure that application is up and running. Whether features are not working or not, that's not their responsibility. That should be a part of the testing and owned by development team.
Okay, fair enough.
So this is the much difference between SRE team and DevOps team. So SRE team and DevOps team, there are something which is common. For example, they both focus on the quality and velocity. Velocity means speed. Quality means, if you remember the goals for the implementing the DevOps, quality improving the quality, reducing the cost, and third one, immediate release. Immediate release, you can take it as like a velocity. So both focuses on the quality and velocity, automation and tooling, and removing silos, whatever you feel, whatever you've been facing from last couple of years. But DevOps has a broader remit, and significant culture is required. Uh, Culture change is required for this. For example, if you remember my statement, you need to do the coding, whether it's for the development or testing feature, or testing or CI/CD also. But SRE is more prescriptive and feasible internal migration. That means ops to SRE, the migration is little feasible compared to DevOps, because I mean suddenly, let's say if you're working from last 15 years, suddenly if I say, hey, you have to become a development and QA as well, part of it, definitely you will have a little bit of fight and struggle, right? So that way is not feasible, but SR is more feasible, because here what maximum you are saying, hey, work with the dev team and then understand what they are doing from the design, development, and capacity planning, and same time whatever you do involve development team, so they also can help you much better way. Okay, so development in an ops team, either you transform into DevOps team, which we discussed yesterday, or where which you require significant investment, acceptance of change, need outside help, and uneven rollout. That is one of the challenges what you have to implement the DevOps. But from ops team to SRE team, I think more feasible and more practical approach which Google has suggested, and that is what has become popular uh, now. Okay, so ops team to transforming to uh, SRE team. So the DevOps team which owns everything, and this is the SRE versus development team which owns part of it. So now, at least now you understood that what is SRE, how it is different from DevOps, how it is different from Ops, all of you.
Yes, yes, it is clear. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll, but not only this one. This is the definition which has been defined. But in order to become SRE team, I just said you need to bring the engineering approach. engineering approach. Yes, if you remember that, whatever you do in SRE team, ops team, SRE team, you need to bring the engineering approach. Let's say if you're not bringing the engineering approach, that means still you're ops team, not SRE. So how can we transform from ops to SRE by bringing the engineering approach? And that is where we have to discuss about the exploring the key tenet of SRE. So these are the three functions which I discussed earlier also. Eliminating a toil. If you are not eliminating a toil, that means you cannot call yourself a SRE team. Working to managing the service levels and managing a failures. These are the three things. If you want to simplify, automation in the first case. Second one is make sure that all the alerting, monitoring, uh, and SLA, SLI, SLO is in check. And third one, whatever the problems you get it, follow that right practices and process to mitigate their problems and then come up with the postmortem and RCA, whatever it is. So how to eliminate toil, that is important. So if you look at this slide, this is the one of the scenario. If you're a part of ops team, you will experience this kind of issues very often. And in fact, I was working on just before this session, I was working on the log rotate, one of the tasks which got assigned to me. So something like that. So if you see that how to eliminate toil, so there is a problem here. There's one server which has a logs which is filling up very badly. So what we do typically, manual task, login weekly, delete the all logs. This is the manual task. Okay. Then again, we got a new release which has some configuration changes and all, and that is filling the logs very badly. So and it is filling badly on daily basis. So what you did, so if the disk was getting filled once in a while, maybe then you do the weekly or monthly or something like that. But if it's daily is filling very badly, then you decide to write a script to delete all logs, files, log in and run daily. This is something which you do. So this is good if you have one server. What about if you have 50 servers? Are you going to log into 50 servers together? Right? So what you decided, okay, this is the challenges which you have with the when your infrastructure is scaling. So you set up a cron job to run the script daily and work with the dev team to reduce the logs. So these are the things. So here you see that there is a one work which you had log storage issues. And the second thing is you can do that. Same time, script can also do that, right? And then you decided to, uh, work with certain automation and implemented it. But if you look at this, till cron job to run script daily, that was the ops. But the moment, please understand that until you were ops team, until you work with the cron job to run script daily. But if do you want to become a SRE team, the moment you decided to work with the dev team to reduce the log itself, doing some changes in the application, that is where you become SRE. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? All of you?
Yes.
So it's a very thin difference between ops and SRE. Okay. So one of the more incident, working to service level. So you need to maintain the service level. New release is coming. New release means new bugs, which will compromise your latency. So what do you do in order to maintain the latency? You increase the capacity and then you report back to the dev team. Again, some new release has come, which has some config issues, create outages. What you did, again, you did config and restore the services, right? So these are the things you did manually. And after that, you realize that there's new changes, which is compromising your stability. So you block new releases for agreed period, right? So this is one of the incident. So here what we have, how to manage failures. So this is a service level, how to manage the failures. So here you have a DNS change cause outage. That means DNS change like Route 53 and all. So you fix the DNS issues, you did the postmortem, build the DNS change control tool which can manage this change, whatever that, so avoid the failures. So how to manage the failure? This is one of the incident which you can think about it. So understanding why SRE works. So here conflict between the dev and ops made explicit, contract at service level, business buy-in, integration between the dev and ops, shared responsibility, shared workload, and common toolkit. Prescription practices, on-call teams and targets, 0% SRE time on toil, service level framework, IT-led migrations which includes within an existing org chart, maintain product knowledge and start small. So some of the other stuff also we have it and so on. Now Ben again he tried to define in another way. It's what happens when you ask a software engineer to design an operation function. How can you do that? So for that, let's understand this. How do we do the automations and eliminating the toil? So I must remind you, uh, these are the three functions what SREs typically perform: eliminating toil, working to service level, and managing failures. So right now I'm discussing about how do we eliminate the toil. How can we bring the automations to automate the toil? How do we plan? How do you strategize and all this thing? So if you see that here, the question is what is toil? First thing. So toil is basically the kind of work which ops team is doing, which required multiple hours, like a labor intensive, and you do keep doing probably daily or weekly. That means in repetitive in nature kind of work, and the something which you can automate it. So that is the definition of toil. If the things which you are doing repetitive way, labor intensive, but it cannot be automated, that's not toil. Okay, this we call it overhead. So some administrative chores that have to get done but should be categorized as a toil. So this is called overhead. For example, let's say you have to be a part of birthday parties, you have to be a part of training courses, you have to become a part of team outing or some meeting work, some HR work, some interview process or something like that. So this is called overhead apart from the work which you do. And there's a third area which you call it a strategic work in SRE. So there are three kind of work which operations team will do. One is like toil, second one is overhead, and third one is strategic work. So these strategic includes production readiness reviews, PRRs, early engagement, and continuous improvement work. Continuous improvement means, let's say, some of you want to introduce CD part, continuous delivery part, and some of you have nominated saying that, hey, let's do one thing, let's implement Argo CD for that. So this is like a continuous improvement program, right? Or some of you have decided to implement the service mesh or certain different security tools, so something like that. So that's called a strategic work in SRE. So now this is important. So if you look at your team is doing some part of toil management work, some part of strategic work, and some part of overhead work, right? So these are the three types of work which your team is doing. When I say your team, means ops teams are doing or SRE team is doing. Any questions so far? Are you okay with it so far?
Yes, I'm trying to fit in this model in what I'm doing, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, most important thing, if you look at it here, there is a toil, you know that, which is a manual work, which is in kind of repetitive and can be automated. And let's say if you do not automate a toil, what will happen? See here. And this is where organization is growth is stopped because see here, if you do not regulate the toils, it will compromise your strategic work, and then you will be in a kind of cycle where you cannot do anything more. So if you do not fix toil, it would stop future work, and that is something which is not good for any organizations. So what do we do? So we need to do the toil management, right? We need to do the toil management. We need to do the toil maintenance effectively. Now the question is, how do we do that? So for deciding the toil, I mean, what is toil, which is not toil, which is priority, how much budget is required, should we do it or not? All these things required effort, and that is what SRE team will do that. And that is what I'm trying to do that. So let's understand this way. Uh, Here, there is a one incident where app is not responding. So one ticket got raised, ops team logged in into server and then restarted the process. So now if you see that here, this is the ops work, correct? If you see that manually, you logged into the server and then this keep happening repetitive. Can we automate it? Yes, probably. Restart the process, which is reactive. Is it restarting the process? A process, is it really a high value work? No. And you will have lots of challenges when you scale the environment. Let's say 50 server, 100 servers, 200 servers. So this is a toil. What do you think? This is a toil, right? Yeah, it's a toil. Yes.
Depends on how you see it,
Yeah.
because the app is not responding. Then you need to troubleshoot it. It's not exactly just log on in the server and restart something, right? Probably will
Right.
have
Right.
more impact than only this, right? So maybe this is something that cannot be automated because you have a weird situation that it's not going to happen quite frequently and requires that you, as a, let's say, between quotes, human being, read something to troubleshoot it. Maybe it's something that it cannot be automated.
Yeah.
So
But
depends on the situation. Is not exactly toil, but it's something else.
yeah. So this is what we are trying to understand now. Uh, Here, this is something. This is one of the example, and we need to decide whether it's a toil or not. And maybe perspective may change in next few slides. But again, you have to decide whether it's a toil or not. What Google says as part of it, if toil is something, let me show you one more time. Toil is something which is required your manual work. Keep repeating this kind of issues again and again, and something which can, there are tools available which can automate it, and that is considered to be toil. So now whether it's uh, you know you required immediate attention, that is fair, we have to do that. But let's say if you do not automate it, then this will, what will happen, you remember that. So it will occupy, keep doing, and it will grow the more toils. And if you do not automate the toil, so it keep growing the toils work, which is important, you believe that's the correct
But
one.
then comes to another part of the slides that you were showing, that this is the troubleshooting part, which is afterwards, right?
Yeah. So right now, these are the three areas. Right now, the area which I'm discussing more or less is the toil management and post-mortem. I'll come back. That's I think second session. After the break, we'll discuss on the post-mortem part. So right now, we are trying to understand what is toil. Second thing, what if you do not automate the toil? Third thing, how do you identify the toil? How to prioritize the toil? And the whether should work or not, that's you have to decide. You have to come up with it, like SRE team, evaluate everything and then come up with the reasoning. That is what we are trying to do that. So is it a toil? As I said, toil is something we have to decide. So in this case, let's say consider this is a toil. Why? Because you can do that, yep. But in fact, some robot, some script can also, some tool can also do that. So yes, it can be toil. So now the question is, what SRE suggests? Let's say there is a toil, you want to automate it. So what you are going to do that, and that is what SRE is suggesting. As part of SRE, you need to, in order to manage, in order to automate this toil, you need to bring engineering approach in SRE. Yes, engineering approach in SRE. That means, again, if you remember that, as part of engineering, what we do, we design, develop, test, acceptance test, deploy, so all these things. So any toils which you have, you want to automate it, you have to follow this engineering approach. Okay, so there's a one thing which you call it as system engineering. Second thing we call it as software engineering. System engineering focuses on the configuration and tunings. Software engineering focuses on the reliability and scalability. So you have to bring the engineering approach. So now let's take this into the different work, different mode altogether. Again, I must remind you, this is the problem which we are discussing. App not responding, raise a ticket, log into the server, manually restart the process. Can it be automated? Can it be automated? So right now, let's say you did the ops work, you logged into the server, you restarted the services. That is what you can maximum do that best. But how can you become SRE? So in order to become SRE, you need to discuss. This you did it. App not responding, raise ticket, log into the server, restart the process. That you did it. But if you want to become SRE, you need to work with the development team, saying that, hey, this kind of issues is keep coming and creating a technical debt for us. We cannot manage it well because we are not able to focus on the strategic work. What do we do? Can we move into the containers with health check enabled? Why? Because container has an inbuilt feature. When the health check failed, automatically process gets started, service gets started. So that has changed the entire perspective, right? So this is something which we have to attributes and become SRE. So now this what you did is a ops work, and this what we are doing is SRE work. Now are you getting what I'm trying to say? Maybe the case to case basis it may or not relevant to in every scenario, but I'm just trying to visualize, help you to visualize uh, how this SRE will look like. Are you able to understand now?
Yep.
Yeah, so we need to find out the long-term solution, bringing the engineering approach and interacting with the development team. So yes, we move to the container with the health check and basically which has a permanent fix, more work, introduces risk, fix leaks and stuff like that. Okay, so now the question is, what Google suggests you to restrict the toil by 50%? Yes, look at this. So here Google suggests you to always have a toil not more than 50%, because if you have a 50 more than 50%, it will compromise your strategic work. So you have to understand in this way. So how do we strategize? Again, depends on the multiple strategies we have available, what kind of work you have, what kind of strategic work we have, what kind of overhead you have, what kind of automations you have. So all these numbers you have to work with some sheet and then prioritize and optimize. So yes, toil can be attractive. Quick fix can be attractive. Let's say you go and fix the toil. What happens? You there is one issues. What happens? Let's say there's one issues has come up in P1 and P2. You logged in and did something. Issue is resolved, and you report it to the team back saying that issue is resolved, and you feel sense of achievement, right? You feel like you did something meaningful. So toil can be attractive in terms of that way, but in a short term. Okay, but if you start automating each toil, sometime what happens, it's a bad for team morale also. Sometime if you have automated everything, then your team's energy dips, strategic project stalls, and people moves on to in order to find out the different challenging projects. So again, pros and cons are there, depends on what you want. Now how do we identify and measure the toil? So identification and measuring the toil is very important work as part of SRE, and this is the thing which you have to do it. Let's understand with this example. So there's one scenario which we have. Let's say one person who joining to our organizations, and the person is supposed to have access to GitHub repo, and you need to add him to Azure subscription. You need to add to multiple Slack channels. You need to provide some read-only access to some systems and make some contributor to YA system, whatever it is. Now the question is, can we automate this? Identifying and measure. First, you identify. See, toils if can be automated, then only it's toil. So are you having the multiple people joining your organizations? Yes. Is it repetitive in nature? Are you doing manually? Yes, I'm doing manually. Can it be automated? Identify that. Find out. Can you automate add to GitHub repos? Is can be automated? What do you think, all of you? So add to Azure subscription, automation can be possible. Add to Slack channels, can it be possible? Adding to the some systems as with certain access can be possible. So we need to define this, identify. So identifying during the identification and measuring a toil, you need to be driven by data. Okay, identify the toil and then quantify the cost involved to automate it. It's not like suddenly there is a one work which has a toil and you started working on it. It should not be like that. You need to identify first which you have done it, and then you have to quantify the ongoing cost for it. And then you also need to look at the toil reduction backlog and prioritize that. Many things are involved. First thing, identify. Second thing is quantify the cost. Third thing, see the priorities, and then decide that whether you want to work or not. You also need to do the cost benefit analysis for this. Okay, then after that, once you have done with the cost benefit analysis, then you need to find out ways in which you will automate it. Again, bringing the software engineering approach. That means you may write some code like some Python code, or maybe Terraform code, or Ansible code, or some JSON YAML, whatever it is. You need to bring the approach, design, develop, test, then deploy in the production. Okay, and then you need to see that whether build cost versus toil cost in terms of times to value, maintenance and support, sharing with other teams and all, and many other stuff, outages. So identifying automation candidate, which includes analysis, documentation, and repetitive processes. So let's understand this way. How, I mean, this is just to get an idea. How can we how can we measure the toil? I mean, basically, how can we uh, how can we measure the toil? So if you see that here, you have a 6 people in your team. I'm having 6 people in my team, and we work 20 days, 20 work 20 working days in a month. So that means how many days we have? 120 days. So out of 120 days, let's say some of your team members is on call. So let's say you have a 40 days on call. So what do you have? And you have to do some new toils all the time. So maybe you spend 20 days for the new toils. So now let's say, I mean, just for understanding, do not take it as a recommendation or something. There's no sticky restrictive process with SRE. Everything is so flexible actually. So 60 days we have it for the engineering budget. I mean, 60 remaining days we have it. So how do we plan for this, right? So guys, three toils which you have. There is one toil which is onboarding, which I want to show you one more time. This one. This is the onboarding toil, and there's one more toil which is a patching which you must be doing actually, patching. And third one is provisioning. So patching is like something like you keep updating your servers, right? You have Steam, is if you're a part of it, you keep patching it. And third one is provisioning, means creating a new infrastructure altogether, maybe Terraform work which you have first one. Patching, if you look at this Ansible work you have, I'll teach you both. Onboarding API work you have, let's say Python or something like that. So now what you did, you identify these are the three toils you have, 1, 2, and 3, and then you are trying to measure it. How do you measure? So if you look at this here, let's say onboarding, and solve assumption. Okay, please take it in that way. Let's say if you want to onboard some employee, it required 1 day. So if you do 5 times in a month, then basically you spend 5 days. Similar to the patching, 4 days, and provisioning 1, 2 is to 3, 3 days. So now if you see the onboarding, patching, and provisioning. So onboarding, my team is spending on 5 days. Patching, my team is spending 4 days. Provisioning, my team is spending 3 days. Tell me one thing, which one you will prioritize to automate first? Suggest me. All of you? Hello? I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, cool. So just for random guess, no need to be 100% right. I mean, let's say if you have a three toils and one toil is taking 5 days in a month, second toil is taking 4 days in a month, third toil is taking 3 days in a month, which one you will give a priority? Probably first one, maybe. Okay, so now you not only you need to see that this how much bandwidth is consuming, but also you have to measure that how much bandwidth required to automate it. So let's say you did some study and then you found out in order to automate the onboarding activity you require 65 days, and there are certain limitations also because you cannot automate everything, because wherever there is a API you can automate, but if there is a no API you cannot automate. Simple. So let's say 65 days. Patching work, probably you have decided, come up with the estimations like that. Okay, this will take 40 days. Okay. And third one, new environment request, probably will take a 10 days. That means if you want to automate these trials, 65 days, 40 days, and 10 days. So now you have to set the priorities. How can we set the priority? So now if you see that onboarding, which is consuming 5 days in a month, but required time to automate is 65 days. Patching, which is taking 4 days in a month, but required time is 40 days. Provisioning, which is taking 3 days in a month, required time is 10 days. Now you tell me which one you prioritize. So first time probably we did the first one, but now if I look at the numbers and then estimates, probably I should go ahead and first automate the third one. Correct now, all of you? What do you think? All of you? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here, first thing, if you want to become a SRE engineer, so the first thing which you have to do, transform uh, and start getting involved with the development team. That's the first thing. Second thing, whatever the work which you have a toil management, you have to keep automating it. And in order to automate those toils, you need to first identify whether it's a toil or not. Then measure this, whether how much effort, cost, and all this thing is required for that managing the toils, and then set up priorities, which one you have to automate. And if you are doing all this thing, then this is a good approach. This is a SRE approach. Okay? So this is something I would suggest you to do that. So I think this is another example. I'll just ignore it. Okay, so okay, so what do we do? Let's say if you follow all these practices, and what to do if you have still some toils which is remaining. So again, you have to continue doing it, identifications, measuring, batch up, and ignore. Sometime you can ignore also. That's not a problem. Uh, many things we can make it as self facade, service facade. That means uh, something like as a service, automatically it will happen. Some of the things you can make it as a self service, and you need to bring informity in your organizations, whatever you do that. Okay, so this is summary. Now, second thing. So now time has come when we want to discuss about service level, uh, you know, the work which is done by SRE team. So what is service level? I think all of you are very comfortable with it. Uh, in a service level, we have a three fundamental metrics: SLI, SLO, SLA. So SLI means service level indicator. SLO means service level objective, and SLA means service level agreement. Now, if you want to understand that example of SLI, so let's say if you are setting up observability and monitoring, and whatever you get it, that is SLI. Whatever you get it from the system, and then real number, that's called SLI. Simple. So let's say number of traffic, number of error rate, response per second, availability, latency, throughput, anything, whatever you get it, CPU matrix, RAM matrix, infra availability, app availability, whatever you get it, that's a SLI. You get it from the system. Why? Because you have a very good monitoring setup in place for generating SLI. Now, then it comes for SLO. But before SLO, I'll talk about SLA. What is SLA? So basically, SLA is something which service provider and customer sign this, saying that okay, I'm paying for your service, but you have to make sure that these are the kind of uptime, availability, and performance you'll give it to me all the time. Okay, so if you anyone have any memories in terms of average SLA signed between the AWS customers and AWS? Anyone? So most of the services, if you remember, they have a 99.69% actually, 99999, something like that. So yeah, so that's the kind of SLAs which has been signed between the service provider and the customer. Now, so here is very simple thing. SLI is something the real number. SLA is something which you have committed. So you have to set a SLO. You means ops team or an SRE team have to set up SLO, and your job is to always make sure that your SLOs are adhered, SLOs are maintained, and that is your something which is a job. So yeah, SLA, the agreement you make with your client and users. SLO, the objective, your team must meet that agreement, and SLI, the real number on your performance. Okay, so SRE job is to maintain all this thing, and this is on the important things. So I'm just ignoring some of the slide because the same thing discussed in the repetitive way. If you have any questions on SLI, SLO, and SLA, do let me know, all of you.
Oh,
Okay, so these are the visualizations where what happens when you breach the SLO and SLA. You'll have to pay for it, and that's something which we have to do. Okay, now if you are a part of SRE, you should also discuss with your customers and come up with the error budget. What is error budget? So basically, error budgets are the acceptable levels of unreliability for the service before it falls out of the compliance with an SLO. That means, I'll put it in a simple way. If let's say thousands of requests has come, out of thousands, let's say your customer, your service provider has allowed you to have one response code which is with the 400, and all 999 requests will go to with the 200 response code. So that is kind of error budget. That means out of 1000 you have a one error which is allowed actually, and that is, if you put it in the percentage, probably 0.001% or something like that, it will come, right? So yes, you have to decide the error budget as well. Error budgets that are acceptable levels of unreliability for the service before it falls out of compliance with an SLO. Simply put, there are a difference between 100% reliability and SLO target. You can think of error budget like financial budget, except in this case, developers spend their budgets on building out new features, redesigning system architecture, or any other product development work. Okay, so now you should be very careful. You should be very careful when you set up a SLA and SLO. Okay, you should be very careful. So here, if you see that, if you look at this business, what business is asking, ops team. hey, give me the 100% reliability. Okay, but if you look at the SLI, which you have got it from the monitoring tool, you get a, let's say 98%. Okay, and here we have SLO target, which is a 99% availability, which was agreed, right? So what I'm trying to say here, I'll show you the one slide where you have to be very careful while committing these numbers, because let's put it in this way. These are the some of the pattern which you can set it up. SLOs, you can set it up, service level objective. Let's say success rate, it should be 99.9%. Example, or response code, the 90% of the request is within 0.5 seconds. Or one more example, response time, 99% of the request is within 2 seconds. So these are some of the example of SLOs. Now this is interesting slides, and I must all of you to focus on this. Let's say if you say your SLO is 99% of request within 2 seconds, and let's say if you have some error in your applications, then how much time you will have in a month to fix that issues. So let's say if you commit 99% SLO, then you will have approx 403 minutes to address any errors which is coming with the either response time. But if you commit 99.9%, then you'll have a 40 minutes in your hand in a month to fix that issues. If you have 99.99%, that means you'll have a 4 minutes only in a whole month to fix and overcome the error. And if you commit for 99.999%, that will have you will have only 24 seconds in your hand in a month. If any error is coming, you have to fix it. That means that's called error budget. Are you understanding? So you should be very careful while committing to and defining the SLOs for your organizations. Are you understanding? Any questions? Any doubts?
No, not for the moment.
Okay, so yeah, be very wise while designing for error budget. That may create a trouble for your organizations if you do not plan properly. And these are some of the samples. Again, Google has released many templates for deciding how to set up SLIs, how to set up SLOs and things like that. Okay, so I'll just ignore it, more discussion on this, because I believe you have understood and so on. Now, this is something which is very important. Uh, if you have a questions like how do we get SLI? How do we get SLI? So basically, these are the types of data you need to collect. Look at this very carefully. Different types of data you need to collect. You need to collect matrices. You need to collect events. You need to collect logs. You need to collect traces. In simple way, if you want to call it, if we call it melt. If someone will ask you, hey, you want to set up observability, so for that what you want to do? So you simply say, first I will gather the melt. Now there are different ways to gather the melt. uh, okay, that we'll discuss in the observability session, upcoming sessions, because we have so many observability tools which I'm going to teach you. So I'll talk about that. And then if you have a collected, then you have to store it, right? Data storage. So data collection is done. There are two methods which we have: pull based and push based. For example, Prometheus, if you know, is a pull based. Neuralink agent is a push based. Depends on that what kind of tool you're using. So whatever you collect, you have to store it. But not only store it, you have to explore and visualize it. Some dashboarding or some queries language you have to No, so you can fine tune the queries and all. And then you have to create reports and alerts. So these are something which you have to do. Now you'll say, Rajesh, I don't know how to set up alerts, what to set up alerts. And that is where the industry has come up with the saying that for you, whenever you try to set up alerts, you should focus on the 4 golden signal alerts. That means what kind of alerts which is a part of the 4 golden signals. So you have to set up one alert for latency for your applications. That means in a simple way, if I say whether your application is performing well or not, in response time is good or not. Second alerts, you need to see that traffic, how much traffic you are getting. You need to maintain that, maybe DDoS attack or something like that. Third, you need to check errors rate, how much total traffic, but out of which how much errors you have in your request. And fourth one is saturation for the infrastructure and logs, which include CPU, RAM, hard disk, network, and many things. So these are the 4 types of alert you should focus on while setting up. So yes, you see that 4 golden signals, which include latency, that means job processing time, response generation time, traffic, length of message queue, request per second, errors, request failures, response correctness, saturation, CPU memories, network bandwidth, and so on. So yes, these are the 4 types of error you should focus on to collect. And then you should do that. Now, this is a part of implementing SLIs. So not only you need to collect the melt, but synthetic monitoring also nowadays is becoming very popular. And this is just like a uptime check or something. And JavaScript monitoring, which you call it RUM, or sometimes we call it a browser monitoring. RUM stand for, anyone would like to help me here? What is RUM? So RUM, basically we call it a browser monitoring, real user monitoring, which is done by through JavaScript things. So yes, you need to gather all this stuff. Okay, so these are some of the Prometheus metrics which I'm just ignoring right now, not making any sense. Yeah. So now, as I said, if you want to become SRE, first thing you have to work with toil management. Second thing you have to work with service level agreement. Now, next thing which you have to do is incident management, which typically also we call it on call and postmortem. So before we discuss this one, we'll have one break for 20 minutes. And once we come back from the break, then we'll discuss about the incident management and on call and postmortem. But before that, do you have any questions so far?
Have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.